Yes, get ready for the legal dictation containing 480 words at the speed of 80 words per minute. 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1, start. A national emergency communication plan has been drawn up and phase 1 of the plan is currently under implementation. It will provide satellite based mobile voice oblique data oblique video communication between National Emergency Operations Center and state EOCs. The havoc wreaked by tsunami in terms of loss of lives and property in certain coastal states and union territories which Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Pondicherry was truly unprecedented. The Ministry of Home Affairs, being the nodal ministry, coordinated relief, response, and rehabilitation measures with the affected states/UTs, the central ministries/departments providing emergency support, and NGOs. Central teams were promptly dispatched to affected states/UTs for carrying out on the spot damage assessment and requirement of funds for rehabilitation and relief. An integrated relief command was set up for Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Search and rescue operations were launched and an amount of rupees 450 crore was released to states Tamil Nadu rupees 200 crore, Andhra Pradesh rupees 100 crore, Kerala rupees 100 crore and rupees 250 crore to UTs Andaman and Nicobar Islands, rupees 200 crore, Pondicherry rupees 50 crore for providing immediate relief and rescue operations. Management of borders and the coast has direct impact on internal security and also law and order. India has a long and porous border, some of which runs through difficult and inhospitable terrain. Forces inimical to the country have been trying hard to take advantage of this phenomenon. Insurgents and militants have set up their sanctuaries on the other side of the borders, pushing into India men, arms, drugs, and money aimed at destabilizing the polity and economy of the country. Effective management of borders and coast has therefore assumed critical importance in the context of maintenance of internal security. Recognizing this fact, a Department of Border Management has been created in the Ministry of Home Affairs with a view to paying focused attention to the management of borders/coast. Fencing and floodlighting of the borders are important constituents of maintaining vigilance along the borders. The fencing and floodlighting in entire Punjab and Rajasthan sectors of Indo-Pak border have been completed except in some unfeasible stretches, with a view to ensuring effective vigilance and security along the borders, the government proposes to deploy a suitable mix and class of high-tech electronic oblique electric equipment along the borders, which would act as a force multiplier for effective management. The border guarding forces have identified surveillance systems like night vision devices, handheld thermal images, battlefield surveillance radars, etc. for deployment. Phase-wise deployment of this equipment is expected to commence in 2005-6. The government proposes to enact a model comprehensive law to deal with the menace of communal violence in the country. Stop. Yes, get ready for the general matter dictation containing 480 words at the same speed. Let's start. 3, 2, 1, start. At the outset, I should like to state that we are not able to understand some of the secrets of the railway board and the policy which they are following. When I say secret, I mean that they have got certain policies and methods which are not easily understandable by people like us. There is no proper organization through which the ordinary railway laborers and their associations could represent their grievances. The Honorable Minister was pleased to say the other day that there is the Railwaymen's Federation. But I must tell him that the practical difficulty of all the unions in the railways is that they are not able to push their case through the Railwaymen's Federation. Another thing I would like to point out is that when representations are made to the Honorable Railway Minister or the Railway Board, in many cases we get a suitable reply, and as far as I have seen, we do get a suitable reply, but that is all. I would request the Honorable Minister to see that their cases are properly considered and something is done to them. The other day I represented to the Honorable Minister and also the Railway Board the case of the sanitary inspectors. They are classified as supervisory staff. Prior to 3rd May 1948, they were given upper class passes like other officers, but since that date, all of a sudden, the upper class passes have been stopped for these people. We do not understand why this discrimination should have been made against these sanitary inspectors. I would request the Honorable Minister to see that proper consideration is shown to them and to remove inconsistencies in this regard. Even though repeated representations have been made to the Railway Board and the Honorable Minister, the case of the running staff has never been properly considered at all. In the case of B grade firemen, all of a sudden the literacy qualification was introduced and people who have passed the SSLC examination have been taken directly as firemen. But what about the case of those who entered service before this literacy question was introduced? Some of them have put in more than 10 years of service. They were recruited by a staff selection board after proper examination. They were never required to pass the SSLC examination when they entered service. Now, the difficulty in dealing with such matters through, let us say, the income tax department, which is the normal way of dealing with them, has been that they cannot deal with them both judicially and at the same time informally. They have to be formal. Their rules govern them, and the people concerned do not like that particular process. They do not welcome it. They do not go there easily unless they are compelled by law to go there. Stop over.